Hey, what's going on, guys? Garden Shed here, and welcome! So, I've just popped into the shops, and I thought, well, I'll take you along a particular route, because it actually has a significance as to what I was going to talk about today. And what I was going to talk about is gap insurance. And I'd be like, what on earth? So, and I'm going to explain it in really simple terms. Gap insurance is basically an additional insurance that you can take out when you purchase a vehicle. And what it does, and I'm going to round off figures and stuff like this, is when you have an accident within 3 years, it's a one-off fee. I think it's about £200-300. What it will do is it will pay the difference between the purchase price of the bike and what your insurance pays out at. So, keeping numbers simple, let's say you pay £10,000 for a bike, okay? Now, after 2 years, that bike may only be worth £6,000, okay? So, if you crash it, even if your bike is insured for £10,000, your insurance will only pay out £6,000 because that's what the value of it is. Where does it come in? Basically, it means that you don't lose money if your bike is stolen, written off, whatever, set on fire. Basically, if your bike is a write-off for whatever reason. So, is it a good thing to have? Now, lots of people go, oh no, I don't need that. But I'm going to use a couple of examples. So, the first one is my mock example. I buy a bike for 10, I own it for 2 years. It gets stolen, my insurance company pays me 6. The gap insurance therefore will pay out £4,000. So what that means is, if you have a bike on finance or PCP, you get back your initial investment. So you get back all the payments minus the interest, plus what you've physically deposited on the bike, which is great. Because normal insurance, often what can happen is your insurance payout, the value of the bike, will often pay out what you pay out, you know, what the bike's worth, and that may be enough to settle the finance. However, it means you are completely stuck for, because you no longer have the funds to get a car or a bike if it is your only mode of transport, and you are vastly out of pocket. So, for example, and the reason I came along this road was because a few years ago I had a significant whoopsie in my car and hit a barn back there, and luckily I took out gap insurance. Basically, the gap insurance payout was £3,500 less. Now, what that enabled me to do was to, luckily I paid off the finance already, but it gave me enough money to buy a car, and it also provided me enough money to put the down payment on Katie, my Kawasaki that I used to have. But, so for example, there's a girl at work, and unfortunately she just had her car written off. Someone T-boned her. It was a monocoque car, so of course they wrote the car off. Her insurance has paid out a sum of money, however that only just, about £50 to spare, settles her finance. So she's then got to raise another few £1,000s to be able to pay for another car. Now, so is gap insurance worth it? Anyone that has actually had it and had to use it would say yes. And I would say yes, because I've had it and I've had to use it. Without that, you know, I wouldn't have been able to, I would have been significantly out of pocket. You know, it's £300, yes, it is quite a lot of money. However, as soon as you wheel your bike out of the dealership, it has lost, what, £500 maybe? If you were to bin it as soon as you rode out of the dealership, your gap insurance will cover that. And I do think it is worth it. I have it on this bike, I had it on Katie. And interestingly enough, only some dealerships can offer it. So, for example, when I was looking at Kawasaki's, my first response was to go to Kawasaki in Corby because they're only 10 minutes from my house. They didn't offer gap insurance, so I didn't even bother placing the order with them because I'm not having a vehicle on finance where the finance isn't protected. Because otherwise you could write your car off and your insurance payout doesn't even cover what it costs to pay off the finance. That is worst case scenario. So then you've got a finance deal, nothing to prove for it, and you've still got to pay that off. On top of that, you need to get another finance deal for another car. So it was because they didn't sign up to it when they set up their dealer, so I didn't go with them. So my next thought was, I've heard good things about Chris Walker Kawasaki in Grantham, I'll go to them. Again, they couldn't offer it because they hadn't been trading for 2 years, which dealers have to have had a minimum trading time to be able to sell Gap. They have now got it, which is great, and I would consider, if I was in the market for another Kawasaki, buying one from them. So in the end I went with Wheels in Peterborough, which is also where I got Dennis from, and they've been absolutely brilliant, and I went back to them because I had such a good experience with them previously. But yeah, I would not pay for a bike on finance if I didn't have something to cover it, worst case scenario. Because it is a hell of a risk, and everyone goes, oh, you know, it's you know, what are the chances of it? Well, with bike theft as they are, and with accident rates and things like that, you never know what's going to happen, do you? So I do think it's well worth investing in something like that. It's a one-off fee for 3 years. So for example, because of that, I never take finance over 3 years. Over more than 3 years rather, because once that gap ends, I do not want to have any outstanding money owed on that policy. I am just taking it very easily because I came along here last week and I managed to get the back tyre to slide out, which slightly terrified me. You forget when the roads get colder, the tarmac gets less grippy and all of that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my little explanation of Gap. If you have any questions, stick it down below. I'm not very good at answering legalised questions, and I'm not in a position to do that because I'm not an insurance broker. I'm just merely basing my experience. I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think about Gap insurance? Would you ever get it? Do you have it? Do you not have it? Why do you not have it? What made you choose not to or to have it? I'd just be really interested, and I think it'd be something that'd be quite interesting to see what people say about it and stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, I've made use of it. I would highly recommend it because I've experienced it, and anyone that has used it would probably buy it again. There was no quibbles, so I got the check through the post. Yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think of it. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching, and take care.